Hello viewers. So in this demo we are going to basically deep dive Argo CD CLI. We already covered the Argo CD UI. I mean how to deploy this Argo CD using the UI. So we already covered. You can check out my previous video. So in this video we will basically focus on the Argo CD CLI. Basically through CLI how we'll deploy the application and manage the application. Okay, so this is the first documentation page in the Argo CD. You can go through this document page. Here there is some steps are there how to install the Argo CD. So let me jump to my demo. Yeah, so I have prepared this document. You can go through the steps how to install the Argo CD CLI. This is very simple steps. First you can get the Argo CD latest version. After that you can download that one and temporarily you can provide the execute permission. After that you can move to this directory. Okay, so I already covered this step because it will take some time, so that's why I covered this step. So let me check where the Argo CD is installed. Where is Argo CD? You can see it is installed on this path. Okay, so now we can go ahead to check like Argo CD version, which version of Argo CD is installed. So this is the Argo CD installed. You can see 3.0.5. this is the latest version of Argo CD, and this one is not unable to connect the server recently because we did not added any server. Okay, so I can give overview like what is my cluster. Okay, get node, you can see I am using 2 node cluster, one master node, one worker node, and you can check also the cluster info. My API server is running on this 40 IP address. Okay, so now we can add this. I already installed the Argo CD server in this machine. You can check my previous video was get pod, or you can get pod -n Argo CD. All the pods of Argo CD is running on this namespace. Also the service also exposed. Yeah, the service is exposed on node port, so we can access using any of the host IP and then the node IP. Okay, I mean the node port. Okay, let me go ahead to connect to the cluster, Argo CD cluster using CLI. So since I running my cluster, exposed the node port at service, so we can go ahead to add this one. Let me log in through the UI first. So this is the http/, since I exposed that service 32,000, so you can hit enter. So after that you can put your credential like username and password. Now you are able to land it in this page. Okay, similarly we want to log in from this CLI. First you can check your command line actually where this server is installed. Okay, so you can see here it is exposed on this port 32,000. Okay, this is the node port, so you can access using your API server IP. Okay, so let me add this one. Now it asks for the username. Okay, same username I can add here. Also the password I can give here. Now you can see it successfully login to Argo CD server, because Argo CD server itself installed in this machine. Why I put this insecure? Because we are using the self-signed certificate, so that's why we have to overcome that message. so we need to pass that one. Okay, so once we connect to that Argo CD server, then we perform all the operation what we performed in the UI, like we can create application, all these things you can check out my previous video. Okay, so first thing we can check our Argo CD cluster list. This is my local cluster added. If you want to add some of the remote cluster, you can add, but we will cover that in the next video. So first, as we connected to my local machine using the node port, we can check the context. Argo CD context, it will show you. This is the context. Similarly, if you connect to any other machine, other Argo CD cluster, the context will be added here. Okay, so that suppose you have 3 context, you can execute the command on different cluster using the, you can change the context and execute the command, so that the command will be executed on the selected context. Okay, so this is the thing. So you can switch between the context like that, Argo CD context to different server. Okay, so we can skip that on, this is not required because only we are using one server. Now our main agenda is to deploy some application. So for that we have the command like Argo CD off create. What we have performed in the UI, like create new off, the same thing we can perform in the command line using this command Argo CD off create your application name. If you want to get some help about this command, you can put this one and put the help help, so that it will give you more information like this. Argo CD off create, application name, your GitHub repo and where your code is placed, and the destination namespace and the destination server, like that. All parameters you can get from the help page. Okay, so we already prepared this command. We can go ahead to execute this one. Since my GitHub is let me show you where my GitHub. Yeah, I hosted all my manifest file in the GitHub repository. You can see I created one project like Argo CD, and there I created one subdirectory like guestbook, and there I placed all the deployment on the service file. I want to deploy this service and deployment file to my this Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so before that, let me show you one thing. Get namespace. Let me delete my previous namespace so that you will see the difference. Get delete namespace. This is not required, but I will show you something, so that's why I want to deploy this application on this demo app. Okay, so first we check whether that namespace is exist. It is not exist at all. Okay, so I cleaned those things. So let me go ahead to deploy one simple application. So this is the command Argo CD off create. Before that, we can check this is the namespace. You can see here like Argo CD off create, your application name and your GitHub URL. I put this GitHub URL up to Argo CD because my application are stored in guestbook directory. So, and the path is this guestbook directory, and the destination is this one, and this is the most important destination namespace. So I want to deploy, this is the destination namespace, means this is the Kubernetes namespace. Okay, Argo CD demo, but you can see this namespace is not exist at all. Okay, so Argo CD, we'll see how the Argo CD will create this namespace automatically. Okay, so let me hit enter. Hopefully it will create. Yeah, you can see we can check this Argo CD get off or off list. I think, yeah, Argo CD off list. It will show you like which application is deployed in the Argo CD or controlled by the Argo CD. Now we can see the status is showing like out of sync because we recently deployed that application. Hopefully the new namespace not created at all. You can check the namespace, till the namespace or the deployment nothing is created, okay, because the status is showing out of sync. Okay, so as we set the manually policy, like we need to sync that manually, so that's why it is showing out of sync. Okay, so in this case, if you sync that up, you'll see some error. Now we can go ahead to sync this up. Okay, otherwise you can get some details about this app get. I think, one second, app get app name. Now we can see there is a lot of information is showing like out of sync. Okay, like that, lot of information. So we are going to sync this application. Okay, so how to sync this application? Let me go ahead to sync. This is the command. You can see this is the command ArgoCD app sync, then your ArgoCD application name. Okay, now we can see the what is the difference or what is the error is coming. Okay, now we can see ArgoCD app sync. We expect some error like this as the namespace is not found and we are not set to create namespace by the Argo CD, so that's why this error is coming. Okay, so in this case we need to set some parameter during when we create the app. That time we need to set some parameter. Okay, so that parameter is this one. Okay, you need to set this parameter. Why I said this one? Because I'm saying like once we created that application, after that you can change that application parameter like Argo CD offset your application name, sync option, create namespace. Okay, this is the parameter you can change for the application. Now I set that application parameter, and again you can sync this application. Okay, now I am trying to sync this application again. Now we can see the sync is successfully completed. I think it is progressing right now. Most probably after some time it will create that application in the Kubernetes namespace. Okay, get namespace. You can see one namespace is created just recently, and we can check the what object are created in that namespace. Okay, get all -n namespace. Now we can see as per our git repo, as per our code, one deployment should be created and one service should be created, and deployment the replica count should be 1. Okay, one pod should be created. Yeah, one pod is getting created, running, and the one service is getting created. Okay, so now Argo CD sync is completed. Then we can check the app status of list. Status is healthy and the status also synced. Okay, so now we can go ahead to make some changes on this git repo. We can see how to manually sync that application. So let me change this replica to 2 or 3 number of replica I want. Earlier it was 1, I want to change it to 3. Okay, so update 3 replicas or 3 replicas. So So I think it's not updated. Let me double check this one. Yeah, I think it's a commit changes. Yeah, I think now it's reflected. You can see that it is reflected in the Git, so that now we can see Argo CD should complain like it is out of sync. Okay, off list. Maybe it will take some time, like 30 seconds or something. Then it will report that the application is out of sync. We can keep on checking. There is some time limit is there, like 30 seconds it should wait, or periodic time. Once the application is out of sync, we can check some another command is there. We can see check the difference between your repo server and the actual deployment in the Kubernetes. What is the difference? This is you can compare the current state of application with the desired state. Okay, so you can check this one, Argo CD off diff. It will show you what changes been performed on the repo. Because it is not noticed the out of sync, so that's why nothing is coming. We can wait for that one to report it out of sync. Otherwise, if you want immediate, I think from here you can refresh this page. Yeah, so basically some time limit is there, like every 30 seconds or something it will check, but since we are trying to make it fast, so that's why I refreshed this one. Otherwise after 30 seconds it should come. Okay, now we can see the status is showing out of sync. Okay, so now we can see the difference. Okay, basically Argo CD off diff command, it will show you the current status of the application with the desired state that mentioned in your Git, and what is the actual status in the Kubernetes. Okay, so it will compare that one. So you can see the replica is one replica is running, but in the Git already we make changes like 3. Okay, so that's why it's showing out of sync. Okay, so we can check our Kubernetes cluster, like what is the pod status, how many number of replica there. You can see only 1 replica is running, but we expect 3 replicas should be running as per our GitHub recent changes. Okay, so now we again hit this command like Argo CD off sync. Now it is syncing the application. Okay, sync allowed. You can see the service has no changes, but the deployment is configured again. In the message you can see. Okay, so now we expect 3 number of replicas should be running. Yeah, now we can see 2 more replica are allocated. Okay, so this is the thing. If you make changes here, then automatically Argo is showing out of sync, and then we can manually sync that one. You can set the auto sync, but in most of the production environment, basically we manually sync those things. Okay, so after that we can see how to roll back this one. Suppose I make now I like sync to 3 replica, but I want to make it changes to 1. Okay, the previous one, that is, so we can roll back our replica. So first thing, we can check the history. Yeah, this is the command Argo CD off history. It basically lists the sync operation, what you have performed, what is the timestamp and the commit ID. Off history, you can see this is the initial sync, that during initial deployment, and after that we make some changes again, 3 replica. This is one. Okay, but I want to revert to my previous one. Okay, I found something wrong, so that's why I want to revert it to my previous version. Okay, so you can see one ID is associated for each timestamp. Okay, that is 0, 1 or something. Okay, so let me revert it to my previous one. Okay, so for that, let me see how. Yeah, this is the command. Okay, ArgoCD app rollback, ArgoCD app rollback your source ID. Okay, in this case it is 0. Okay, I want to revert to the previous one, previous. So rollback, let me see. Now we can see this deployment again configured. Okay, because we are running with 3 replica, but our previous state was 1 replica. Okay, so now ArgoCD will try to revert it back to 1 replica. Now again it should show like out of sync, because in the hopefully first we check whether it is reverted to the 1 replica or not. Okay, yeah, now we can see earlier 3 replica was running. Now you can see it is reverted to our previous state. You can see temporarily we make changes like 3 replica, but our previous state was 1 replica. Okay, so now it is automatically, when we execute this rollback, automatically it will roll back to your previous state, that is 0 ID. Okay, so now 1 replica is running. Okay, so now it definitely show you out of sync, because in the the git it is showing 3 replica, so that's why it's showing out of sync. But if you again sync this one, then it will sync with your Argo, the git repo. Okay, let me sync it again. You can see the difference. Now it is syncing again. Okay, now you can see it is synced. This one is showing the last one sync and configured. Okay, so we expect it is configured according to the recent changes in the in the git, that is 3 replica. Okay, so we expect 3 number of replicas should be running. Yeah, so this is basically about how to sync the application and how to roll back to your previous state. Okay, and we have like lot of other commands also available, like you can check the logs of your container or specific application. Okay, yeah, you can see all the logs. There is some high messages there. Okay, if you want to check some container log, if the pod is running with 2 to 3 container, you can mention the container name. Okay, so this is all about your basics of ArgoCD commands. So these are the commands basically used, and apart from that, I think we covered most of the things. Yeah, so once you completed with your all these things, you can deploy, delete this application ArgoCD off delete. It asks you whether you want to delete. In the UI itself you can check now ArgoCD is running, but if you want to delete, you can delete this one. Hopefully this pod should be deleted. Yeah, now it started terminating. Okay, the off, you can check the off list, ArgoCD off list is there, but it will terminate because we now it takes some time, so that's why it is showing that time. But now you can see ArgoCD off list, nothing is showing. Okay, So similarly, you can maybe most probably on another video will cover like how to add new server, ArgoCD server, and how to switch the context between the different servers. Okay, so that's it about today's video about how to perform the ArgoCD CLI. We have covered all these things. Thank you guys. We'll see you in next